All right, welcome back, folks. Chris Wilson with Modified Independence Evaluations Incorporated, and we have a rollator. Um, I don't like them. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm not supposed to like them. Physical therapists love them. Patients love them because they have a place where they can sit down. Unfortunately, with the caster wheels on the front, the friction brake on the back, and things like that, they're just not as, in my opinion, they're not as safe. And I think a lot of times people use them prematurely and cause a lot of their problems. But in an effort to mitigate some issues, I'm going to go over some things that I routinely adjust on these things. So let's start here first with the height of the walker. If you watched the previous video about the pink walker, I believe the rollator came from the same person, so it's never going to be the right height for me. They've already got it 3 notches up, but the way that you adjust the height, because again, we want that arm to be at about 110 degrees. That way we can push down with all of the big muscles that are supposed to hold us up in the arms, to try to help with the core muscles that hold us up. But if you're going to adjust one of these things, you take off the nut and the washer, and sometimes the bolt has to be coerced. So where did I say we started at? 3 notches, 1, 2, 3. There's 4, 5. And then a lot of times you're limited because of the brake cable. Okay, so the top one I can do is this one right here. So we're gonna go down, down, down. There's the hole. Line it up. If you look at the back, you'll see where this bolt goes in and out. There's actually a groove where the head of that bolt fits into, because we don't want any sharp edges sticking out and hurting anybody. So I come over to this side, put our little washer on. You can see this one's already curved because it's been cranked on pretty tight. Put our nut on there, spin it on real good. Give it an extra one just for good measure. Now, if you look at these from the side, you can see that this one is a little bit higher than this one. I set this back up here, and you can see I get a little bit of bend in the elbow versus this arm that's pretty much straight. Get a little bit of bend in the elbow, but I'd still rather see it up here. So just like the previous video, probably about 4 inches of adjustment. In case you're not familiar, the seat folds up. There's a little bag for carrying stuff, and inside of said bag is a handle, strap. Pull the strap and the whole thing folds up flat, okay? This thing folds up. By the way, don't ever sit on one of these and have somebody push you around like a wheelchair. That's how they tip over, and that's how people get brain injuries, by hitting the back of their head. The last thing is these brakes, okay? As I said, it's a friction brake, meaning when I squeeze, this brake comes down, this metal piece with teeth on it comes down and makes contact with the rubber wheel. All right, that's great. Wheel's free spinning. I grab the brake. Now, I'm a 47-year-old man. My hands are plenty strong, which means that the harder I grip this brake, the harder that thing goes down and makes contact with that wheel. So now, if you fast forward and make me twice as old, that means I'm probably not as strong, which means that I can't grab this brake as easily. I can't grab it as quickly. We're talking about reaction time. We're talking about strength. So if the amount of force that brake applies to that wheel is directly related to the amount of force that this hand applies to this brake, we have an issue. Because over time, this thing becomes less and less and less appropriate for somebody. And we need to be evaluating based on their hand strength and their reaction speed, not that they want to have a convenient place to sit down if they get tired when they're walking between their recliner and the toilet. That's just me on my soapbox. Now, as far as the brake is concerned, there's some fittings down here. You can adjust these to tighten the brake up and everything like that. Now, in my experience, when you have to start adjusting the brake, it's typically because, as you can see, this wheel is already starting to wear off. It's starting to flatten out. Eventually, and they did it on purpose when they put these things together, there's only enough cable that when this thing loses about 1/4 of an inch of rubber off of this wheel, you can't adjust this thing anymore, which means that the whole thing is crap and it goes in the trash. And guess what? Medicare sends you another one. Rollators.